and the fans are raging. The manager, I'm sure, is seething inside, would not like to be in the dressing room following the defeat like that. It was just the nature of the defeat, Simo. You've worn the colours of that tie, that side, that glorious, one of the biggest sides in the world. And Bournemouth's first ever victory at Old Trafford today. Yeah, in 11 games. I think that's what's frustrating, I think, from a fan's point of view, is that they're so up and down, there's no consistency. He mentions the words there, he says, you know, the mentality. Every 3 days, it's the Premier League, it's the toughest league in the world. And I don't think they have that consistently, and that's why they've not drew any games. They've won 9, they've lost 6. So they're either doing enough to win a game or they're really poor, and that's why, you know, they've lost 6 Premier League games. That is not good enough for a Man United team, and, you know, I feel for him because it seems like the players are turning it on when they have to. You know, after a bad performance, then they'll turn it on. You know, Newcastle, they lose, then they turn it on, and they're running more against Chelsea, they get a win, even though Chelsea weren't great. And then today, to lose 3-0 is really poor.
Well, I thought the Chelsea game flattered them, and Simo was right. In the previous games, they've just done enough. They've just got past Fulham away, 1-0. You know, they've beat the teams down the bottom by the odd goal. They've not been convincing. Against Everton, they got the early goal, and Everton had the better chances in the game, right? Penalty decides the game. So it's not been convincing. So I didn't expect this result today. I didn't expect them... well, I expected them to win the game. The performance was poor. And again, I look at the manager. I've got a question why he changed the back four. If you've got an injury to a centre-back and you've got another centre-back available, then you play him at centre-back. You've moved Luke Shaw in there. I thought he was, you know, Harry Maguire I thought had a good game. Yeah, he did. Luke Shaw, I thought, was found wanting at times in there, because you can't, as you know, for me, it was always difficult when the manager, I was a centre-half, the manager put me in midfield, then dropped me back to play at centre-back. It takes you time to adjust your positional sense and whatever. So you're moving Luke Shaw from left-back to centre-back, and it's a different position where he's got to adjust. But it's not the first time he's played there this season. I know, but, well, he played against Newcastle and they got beat as well.
Yeah, I think for me as well, I think you look at the stats and, you know, they've scored 18 goals in 16 games. That is not Man United, that we know. Yeah. They conceded 21. The -3 goal difference now, you know, to still be, what, 6th in the league with -3 in other teams, you know, they're scoring, you know, 30+ goals around them. It's always going to be difficult when you're conceding more than you're scoring. There was a tweet that went viral today, as in December 9th in the UK, which was posted on December 9th, 2013. David Moyes was in charge. It was put out by Manchester United's official Twitter account. It was parodied a lot at the time, and it reads, David Moyes says, Manchester United must improve in a number of areas, including passing, creating chances, and defending. What's changed in the last 10 years? I mean, OK, they're creating chances. Bruno's #1 for that so far in the Premier League, but everything else, it just seems to be a constant cycle of new manager comes in, the bounce occurs, they do very well. Suddenly, leaks are coming out the dressing room, players aren't happy, players don't want to do this, players don't want to do that. Manager goes. Listen, for me, football can be very simple, and it can come down to do you run harder than your opponent. Listen, we can talk about, the Premier League, for whether you're Bournemouth or you're someone at the bottom of the league or at the top of the league, they're all top players. And I think a lot of results that we see at the moment, it can come down to, are you working harder than the guy opposite you? And if 7, 8 of your players are working harder than, you know, the other team, you normally get a draw or a decent result. And I don't think we're seeing that enough on a consistent basis. Recruitment's been poor. They spent an awful lot of money, and the recruitment's been poor. It really has been poor. If you're bringing back, no disrespects to Evans, he's left the club how many years ago? The club's supposed to have moved on from there, and then you're bringing him back to the football club. He was a youngster with Danny. Exactly. Yeah. You've no disrespect to Casemiro. You know, you're bringing him on a 4-year contract. Listen, world-class player, but the Premier League's a different animal. A different animal, playing 3 times a week. You know, you're bringing him on big money. You've had to revert back to
You were going to get rid of Harry Maguire. You've stripped him of the captaincy. You left him out the team. You've had to revert back to him. I thought he played really, really well today. You were going to get rid of McTominay because you didn't think that you bring in McTominay back. Sorry?
He's now their top goal scorer.
He's now their top goal scorer. Yeah. So, you know, you're looking... I look at the Manchester United side and it's not a Manchester United team. Full stop. From 1 to 11.
I look at the Premier League, I look at some managers, I look at managers across Europe. Look at Xabi Alonso, Bayer Leverkusen, relegation-threatened team, top of the Bundesliga. You look at Unai Emery, we've spent so long talking about him and what he's done at Aston Villa. You look at Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham, you look at Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. OK, he won a trophy when he first arrived at the FA Cup, half-season. Poor start to his first full season, but look how far they've progressed now as a football club. Yeah, but there's a blame come to the manager.
Yeah, but Manchester United and Ten Hag will argue that they finished in the top 4 last season and went to 2 cup finals.
You're only as good as your last game.
But I agree with you. They overachieved.
You're only as good as your last game, though.
No, for sure, for sure. I mean, the disappointment comes in because everybody thought that Manchester United were going to be stronger this season and they were going to be contesting for the league title. Let's be honest as well. They're still only 4 points off a Champions League spot, right? So we are criticising them. Chelsea are not doing great. Spurs have lost the last 4 on the bounce. You know, a month ago we were talking about Spurs challenging for the title. You know, and now they're losing games.
I think just to touch on what Carlton says, before today's game, we were saying that they're only 3 points off Man City, who are the European champions. Listen, we know they're not playing great, but still, before today's performance, they were still 3 points off Man City. You know, like Carlton says, Chelsea are losing games. They spent God knows how much money. You know, Tottenham are flying, and now Tottenham have not won in 5 games. So it's a tough league.
Isn't it more of... With all due respect, I know you said all players in the Premier League are world-class, and they are to get to that level. But within the Premier League itself, you've got your Arsenals, your Liverpools, your Cities there. All the points, most of the points they've picked up have been against bottom-half teams. I mean, you've seen their record against the top-half teams. Changed a bit when they faced Chelsea, yes. But generally speaking, they've struggled in competitive games. Yeah, but if you look at over the years, the teams that have been winning the Premier League, they've worked hard. Now, remember Liverpool, for them 3 or 4 years when that front press from the best players in the world, Mane, Salah, Firmino, they were getting after people, they were working as a unit. And you're not seeing that all the time at Man United. Man City, if you don't run, you don't play. But then I shift it back to, isn't that the manager's role, to motivate his players to work hard on the pitch?
Well, you shouldn't, listen, at that level, Adam, you shouldn't have to motivate the players. You shouldn't have to motivate the players.
Then why the difference between Emery and Gerrard at Aston Villa? Why is one relegation...
Because you're talking, no disrespect to Steven Gerrard, we don't know what he'll be eventually. He was young going into Aston Villa. You're talking about 2 completely different kettle of fish. Unai has been successful manager everywhere he's been before. He would have been successful at Arsenal if they'd have given him time. Arteta was afforded time at Arsenal because he played for Arsenal and the supporters give him a bit of latitude. Otherwise, Arteta could have gone. Do you know what I mean? You know...
Mourinho was successful. Van Gaal was successful at Manchester United.
Yeah, but...
Very successful. More successful than Unai Emery.
Yeah, but as it stands at the moment, listen, we're not at the end of the season yet. As it stands at the moment, Ten Hag's tenure at Manchester United... is not bad. You know, he's won, you know, he's got into Europe with that team and he went to 2 cup finals. Yeah. So if he gets the sack tomorrow, which he won't, he'd still turn around and say, well, my time in charge, I've done really well. We're just looking at Manchester United from the outside, looking in, we're watching the game, to see them lose another league game. I think it's 7 Premier League games they've lost so far this season. The manner of losing those games, especially today at Old Trafford, you know, you're looking and you're thinking, this isn't acceptable.
He's scratching his head at times, I can see. When you get a performance in terms of Chelsea and you see how much the players are putting in the effort, and then you go from that to that, he's probably scratching his head. And like Carlton says, they overachieved last season. To get into Europe, to 2 cup finals, they won a trophy. And I do believe they've had a lot of injuries, a lot of stuff off the field, and I think Martinez has been a big loss. I think he epitomised everything about United's season last year, and he's missed half of the season.
I understand when you're saying that his tenor's gone pretty well, but I look at some of their results in the time that he's been in charge. I was at Anfield, 7-0. Martinez played in there, Lisandro Martinez. You look at their collapse in Europe. I think most United fans were happy with the draw when it first came out. You think, okay, United in this group,
but
probably going to finish second to Bayern.
It's like Danny said, he's probably scratching his head. One week he gets a performance, the next week he doesn't. And what's that down to? I mean, you can't, as a manager, it's very, very difficult. You've done your preparation. You can see he's a meticulous manager in what he does. And then you send your players out and you expect, it's like today, Marcus Rashford come on today. What happened to the, you know, you've seen him chasing back. He lost the ball, he chased it back, and you're thinking, right, well, why didn't he do that against Newcastle? Do you know what I mean? Then you look at Martial, he started today, he's giving him another opportunity. His contract's up at the end of the season. You're playing at one of the biggest clubs in world football, and there's no effort from him. And his contract's up, because if I'm looking now as a prospective buyer, am I going to take him and pay him 200 grand a week?
Eric Ten Hag confirmed, by the way, they are in contract negotiations with Anthony Martial to extend it further, along with a few other players, Lindelof and I think 2 other players listed. OK, look, we've got to wrap up in a minute and a half. Let me ask you this. Very brief answer, gents, please. It's Bayern. It's a must-win in Europe. It's Liverpool. If he loses both of those in an embarrassing fashion, do you expect him to still be in charge?
I think so.
OK.
Yes, 100%. He'll still be in charge.
Yeah.